Can we see that video of the giraffe as a child and then like
Alright, I think it's recording. Try it out. Alright guys, so we kind of already asked this question, but if evolutionary fitness is the ability to leave more descendants, right? Who is more fit in this case then? If we have the giraffes, which giraffes would be more fit?
The long neck.
Right, the ones with the longer neck. So the ones that have the letter F, right? Yeah. Right, so these guys are the tallest, right? Right here, here, and oops, and E is obviously not tall enough. All right, so the next slide is, could these organisms strategies, right? So if I have a penguin and a turtle, right?
Oh, that's a turtle.
So this is the one on the right? You see a turtle that is having several eggs, right? And then here, what's happening here?
It's keeping the egg nice and warm.
Okay, so on the picture on the left.
Yeah. Isn't that a penguin? Isn't it like,
right.
Is the egg under its leg?
Okay, so what is happening though? What do you see with the young?
They're following closely.
Right, so they're taking care. So you see very close parental care, right? And then here, what do you notice about the eggs?
They're dirty.
Okay.
They're being popped in a hole.
Aren't like some turtles like?
Have you guys ever? Okay, so what about number-wise?
There's a lot of them.
There's several of them, right? So
some are bound to survive.
So you have a strategy of producing. Remember how we said natural selection is all about? One of the first points is most organisms have a high reproductive potential, right? So we have this turtle having tons of eggs. Could that increase its fitness?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Because, well, more of them there's a bigger chance of survival for some.
Right. So the idea that it's going to have a greater chance of producing more of its offspring, right? There's other factors that go into that, but that's one of the ideas. And what about having closer parental care, having greater parental care? Would that increase the fitness
No.
of this?
Yes, it would.
No.
Yes, it would.
Who says yes?
I do.
Okay, who says no? Okay, so for the people that said this would increase fitness, why would having close parental care increase the fitness of these individuals?
Because let's say there's a predator and it's coming after your kids and it kills them, they're not going to reproduce.
Right. If your kids don't survive, they can't find a mate and reproduce. And what is natural selection all about? Reproduction, passing on your genes. So
Jenna, try to defend it.
But
other side.
If the parent protects it, how's it going to learn how to defend itself?
Okay, right, but then you have to have a certain point with every species, right? You have to have a certain point where the parents kind of guide it until it's old enough to defend itself.
Not the turtles.
So
But I'm pretty sure you realize that if something's coming after you, you're supposed to run.
Right, eventually, right,
Yeah, but you
parents
have to
will.
learn how to fight.
You have a good point, but eventually, right,
Yes,
parents
because they have
will
fists.
reduce.
I can imagine.
They have fists, right? They'll reduce the amount of care that they give their offspring. Okay, so that's all.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this in the colleges, but you have orange-based selected species, which is basically referring to the fact that some just produce a lot of offspring and kind of just say, good luck with life.
Right.
I laid the egg, what else do you want from me? And then you have the other version that they put a lot more time into their offspring. They have fewer, but they care for it. So is it possible for these two creatures to have the same relative fitness?
Yes.
Yes, how?
Do they cancel each other out?
What do you mean by that?
No, I think
That's a very, I don't, okay.
You can produce so much, but like let's say half of them, no, let's say 75% of them die, they'll still equal the same amount of penguins.
the two.
Exactly, yeah. So it is possible that, just because they're born doesn't mean they're going to survive. And in fact, that's kind of the evolutionary strategy, and organisms fall somewhere along this line. Have a lot of babies, but, hope for the best. And then there's some that they have few babies, but then they put a lot of offspring into it. And studies kind of show that it almost completely balances out. It depends on the certain situation. But it actually kind of one way works, but both kind of work equally well. So I'll tell you about some impressive evolutionary men. This is Jiao Ganga. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Founder of China's Manchu dynasty is thought to have 1.6 million descendants. So that includes children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. That's
Jared, please do not, maybe one.
Isn't there something really similar to that with Genghis Khan?
Yeah, he's
And
on
even
there.
more is 5th century Irish warlord Niall of the Nine has 3 million direct male descendants. If you are of Irish descent, there's almost a 10% chance that this is your great grandfather was rapist, which is weird. And Genghis Khan, by the way, one of the more well-known guys, was very evolutionarily fit. 16 million descendants. So what?
He's wearing wings.
Big.
Look at this guy.
And the ladies like the feathers, as we're going to talk about. So, not to be too crass about it, but the point, and we kind of alluded to this yesterday, it all comes down to an evolution. Who has more offspring? Who has more offspring that eventually survive and have offspring of their own? Eating, surviving, whatever. It all doesn't kind of matter in 100 years if the organism didn't go on and have babies.
So then why are we in school? Why don't we go eat, survive, and reproduce?
Because I know the answer.
Why?
Because humans are the only species who have imagination.
That's it. You want to go out there and be able to
I give up.
be able to and
I
attract
have
the
lost
mates.
all hope.
And you might find that some mates need intelligence. Some need food. Some, for example, they want you to have a job to be able to buy them things. So you might need education for that. So here, now I have 3 individuals up here, and I gotta say,
Who's
what
the guy in
do
the
all
middle?
3 have in common?
Looks like Trainer Tom.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Trainer Tom.
So you might know who this guy is. This
Trainer
is
Tom here.
Bill Clinton. You might know who this guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. This is Elliot Stetson, former governor of New York. Now you might. Now, what do these 2 guys have in common?
Hair.
Males.
Hair. That's where you went.
We're successful men.
The successful men, and what kind of success am I talking about?
Government-wise, you have a lot of
They're evolutionary fitness, right? Is that what I care about? And I'm gonna take off my wedding ring when I say this. Is that these guys both got caught kind of cheating on their wives, and what I say to that is nice, right? That's my boy, right? Get that evolutionary fitness stuff. That's what I'm talking about, right? So now, socially, I would say these guys are kind of scumbags, right? Cheating on their wife and stuff like that. But evolutionarily, nice, right? Good for you, right?
No,
They
it's
went
not
out-
because they got caught.
That's true.
Evolution doesn't
His
count.
sons won't get caught.
That's true. So they have to be sneakier and not. I like the way you think. This is how you're going to have all those children, not from one wife, just from many of
This
them.
is so frightening. I'm losing all hope.
So let's.
It's up.
Now there's.
What is that?
Let's check out this delightful video on the evolutionary arm race.
Carlos, you were totally right though with the number.
Life must battle to survive. In 4 billion years of hunting, predators have become better at killing. But their prey have become better at escaping. These escalating battles have shaped every living thing. Such arms races produce ever-improved weapons and strategy. In these races, the price of failure can be extinction. But today's animals are the triumphant survivors of a 4 billion year war. For them, the eternal arms race continues.
So, I started off this chapter by telling you how we're the product of 3.8 billion years of evolutionary history. So, act like it. So here, there's an old Kenyan proverb that says, the cheetah gave the gazelle its speed. Now, what might they have meant by that? Yes?
Well, the cheetah forced the gazelles to evolve to faster speeds to survive.
Exactly, right. And how did that actually occur? So, if this was a question, short answer question on the thing, how did it force organisms? Because that sounds a little bit Lamarckian, although I know you're talking about.
It was
for that,
selective.
All the slow gazelles died.
Exactly, right? So it's all about who lives and who dies. There's always variation in the population. Some a little bit faster, some a little bit slower. And in this case, the slower ones tend to get eaten. One of the things that you can't do when you die is reproduce, right? So that's kind of the first thing that goes, right? So for this is that when you die, you can't reproduce. So the slower genes kind of die off. Yes.
So would the cheetah be the selective pressure?
You can exactly right. So, and then now as this population evolves, what's going to happen to the cheetah population?
It's gonna get faster.
And why will they get faster?
Because they need to catch faster prey.
And how will they get faster?
They produce what the
Oh, yeah.
cheetahs are faster.
Right. The ones that are slower will die off as well. So make sure in these explanations, I know you're all right on the right track, but make sure you're not careful not to say, well, they need to get faster. They have to get faster. I need $1 million. It ain't happening, right? So here it's who lives and who dies in terms of this. And there's all sorts of different genes and different traits that would make you a faster runner or a better runner. So for example, what are some phenotypes that might affect an organism's speed?
Their body structure.
So, their body structure, right? Are they streamlined? So like streamlined, what else?
Aerodynamic.
Same word, but okay. So yes, streamlined, aerodynamic,
No air resistance.
no air resistance. We're going for that very same word.
Okay, 4 limbs.
Yeah, having limbs would be useful in running fast.
How the legs are made.
Exactly, right? So, you know, you ever see those little with the corgi dogs? Their legs are like this big and them trying to run. It's just sad. They're basically snakes at this point. But longer legs give you a longer stride. What else?
Muscle control.
Right. How many muscles that you have, right?
Lung capacity.
Right, your lung capacity, how much oxygen you can get in. And these are all different adaptations that could drive a species. You know, the ones with the smaller lungs die off, the one with the smaller legs die off, the one with less aerodynamics die off, more air resistance, blah, blah, blah. So let's check out a delightful video of
For millions of years, the cheetah has largely preyed on one animal, the gazelle. Cheetahs are master gazelle killers, but gazelles are superb at escaping cheetahs. The creatures are locked in an evolutionary arms race, a race for survival that has no end. It has made them the fastest and second fastest animals on the African plains. Cheetahs are swifter in a straight line, but gazelles can turn more quickly and have greater stamina. Gazelles frequently escape, and only the fastest cheetahs make regular kills. The mother's physical qualities and much of her behavior, both crucial for hunting, pass to her young in the form of genes. The genetic code is the blueprint for making a successful cheetah. But the genetic recipe for the perfect hunter is unachievable, because the gazelle's genes are also updated every generation. This genetic arms race continually reshapes both animals.
Say drinking milk.
that was perfect assessment.
The
Yes.
fact I know about cheetahs is when they run, they spend most of their time in the air.
Yeah. So you know that's you're fast because they're just their leaps. It's quite impressive. Yeah. So once again, the selective pressure is for speed, right? Those that are slower tend to die off. These survive better. So here's a example.
Got my head.
Example given. So although you might not get this exact answer on a quiz, you should be able to give you a situation and say how this population would evolve. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So at the end of the period. Like
What
we
was the
finish.
question about like the XX male and like the crossing over?
Can you go on?
TDF.
So
You can't.
the that was a good question. Is that for X? How can an XX person be a male? Yes.
TDF is present.
Right. So how did TDF get there? Is basically the question.
Gene expression.
And one of them for gene expression, you can say the gene was turned on. For crossing over, is that X and Y. They usually don't cross over, but if they did, the TDF gene could have accidentally gotten pushed onto the X.
Oh, what if you didn't get the second part wrong?
You got part. Most of you got partial credit. A lot of
Get it right.
people actually. So now, species are never done evolving. A lot of times people assume that, hey, this cheetah's pretty fast, what else does it need to do, right? Humans are pretty smart, what else do we need to do? But the environment's always changing. And not only are you evolving, but what's trying to kill you and eat you is also evolving. They're getting better at this. And this is why, if you remember at the way back when, we talked about the importance of sex. And why was sex actually a reproductive tool against diseases such as the bird flu?
So that your genes can like mix and like eventually generation will be